My computer's acting weird. Okay, so this is week 8. We have 4 more weeks to go. And this one's going to cover database. Now, it depends on how much you use Excel. Whether you receive a huge database or not, the database function of Excel is something that you can definitely find useful. So I'm going to try to minimize my picture here so that you can see the whole screen. So the objectives for today are to talk about the database function. We're going to define what a database is, the kind of 2 types of databases, and then we're going to talk about the Excel table, which gives you the database features and how to create a structured table or Excel table so that you can do that.
You're caught here. Here. There, better.
Okay. Do you get it? Is that Connie, is that you? Okay, I can't see anybody right now because I've got my view so that you can see most of the screen of my PowerPoint. So first of all, we want to know, what is data? Well, the definition of data can be several things, but a common definition is, my computer is acting really strange right now. It's not moving forward. There we go. So facts that can be analyzed or used in an effort to gain knowledge or make decisions, which is basically information. So raw data, for example, if you say 80911 by itself, it has little meaning, but if you give it a description, such as a zip code, then it becomes information. So a database is a collection of raw data that is organized into data sets or information. Most businesses and organizations rely heavily on their databases to conduct business. I don't know of a business that doesn't have a database. Everybody uses a database. So can you think of a common database? You know, we use it more than we realize.
Taxes.
Taxes?
Tax, yeah.
Taxes, well, who has the database on collecting taxes?
Federal.
So
Banks.
Okay. Another
Phone
common
book.
one is the phone book. That's a phone book is nothing but a database. Excuse me. It's, back in the day when we used to get big old fat phone books delivered to our doors. Now, they're still around, not as used as much as they used to be, but that's a database, phone book.
There are numerous databases on COVID vaccines.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so databases are used all over. So when you have a database, you want to have a unique identifier to eliminate any duplication of records that might have similar information. For example, in a phone book, there could be a lot of Smiths and Joneses and Williams, right? So what is the unique identifier in a phone book?
your telephone number?
Exactly, it's the telephone number. So that makes it unique so that you don't have any duplication. What unique identifier does the US government use?
Your social
Social
security.
security number.
Absolutely, the social security number. And when you log on to certain websites they want you to belong to, what do you think would the unique identifier be for that?
Your ID number.
Your email.
Email address.
Your email, right. So when you log into any kind of website that's asking for you to join and they want it, to your username to be your email, that's the unique identifier. They are creating a database. Databases are extremely valuable. And I think organizations live and die by this. So there are 2 types of databases. Microsoft Excel uses a flat database, which consists.
No.
Okay. It consists of one table, and in Excel, the database that when you put it into a structured table or what's called an Excel table, you are using the database features. Now, Microsoft Access is a much more robust database. It's called a relational database. Excuse me. And the reason why is because it uses several tables and that they relate to each other so that you can pull out more information. So, come on, computer, move forward. There we go. So as you can see, when you create an Excel table, we've been using tables for all kinds of different things, but they weren't structured in any particular way. But if you're going to create a database feature, you must structure your table in an Excel table. And so it's a very simple structure. Your header row, as I'm showing here, would have the name of the title or the description of the data that's going to go in that column. So you see there's a first name column, a last name column, address, city, etc. This is called your header row. And then every record, every row underneath that is considered a record. It's a record of related data. So this record would have the name, et cetera, of all the people that this record relates to. So you kind of look at it like, I kind of look at it like a file, manila folder. So you might have a file cabinet drawer, and in it are manila folders of records. So maybe your file cabinet is on students, and every folder inside that drawer is information on that student. It might be their address, their financial aid, what classes they've taken, things of that nature. So that's an Excel table. A relational database, such as Access, will have several tables that they will relate to each other. So you have a student record, table. You might have one of courses, what quarter they've taught, what building they're in, what level, like freshman level, sophomore level, etc. And you might have one of professors. And because if they're all related, then you can pull out data from all of that. And you could have a list of students who took a particular course from a particular professor. If they weren't related, you couldn't get all of that. So you can see why a relational database is more powerful, because you can have different kinds of tables and you find a relationship between the tables so that you can extract more information out of it. But we are going to stick with the Excel table. The Excel table is much simpler. It's one table. You could have hundreds of rows, but columns. So we're not going to make it that complex. Okay, any questions about this?
Yeah, I want to know, Microsoft, are they now have a software program that is?
Yeah, Access is a software program.
Their answer to Excel then? Do you think that's it?
No, actually, Excel just took a simplified database feature. A flat database is much simpler, but again, Microsoft tends to make their software more industry oriented. So if you can imagine how you can imagine, say, for example, the Social Security, they're not going to just have one huge table with just millions of columns. They'll have several different kinds of tables. And they can relate, for different reasons, depending on what kind of information you want to extract. So most businesses, large businesses that are going to use a database, they're going to use a relational database. This is more powerful. You can extract so much more information.
Right.
You can design it better. But it is very much a, I don't want to call it a science, but you have to really know what you're doing. Because if you design a database, you've got to make sure that you design it right, and trying to modify it can be all kinds of headaches. And I know because I tried that once. I took an existing database and I thought I could make a few modifications. That didn't work. Unless you really know what you're doing. If you are a database manager, administrator, you can create your own databases, and you can do that in Excel and Access, but you have to really know what you're doing. That's going into programming.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. What I want to do now is I want us to explore an Excel table. Now, in the PowerPoint presentation, I made a link to it, and I also gave that to you. I want you to open your Freeze Panes practice workbook. And I am going to go and open up the Excel chapter 18 little video on freezing panes. So I am going to play this, and it's using that particular worksheet to demonstrate. So let's hope everything works here. Let's go here. Anybody see it?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Okay, you can see it, so you should be able to hear it too.
Goodwill Community Foundation, creating opportunities for a better life.
Excel worksheets can have a lot of cells, and sometimes you may find that you want to view two different parts of the spreadsheet at the same time. For example, in this spreadsheet, I have a list of salespeople in the first column, but when I scroll to the right, those names disappear, which makes it really hard to see who the sales data belongs to. We can fix this by freezing the first column, so it will always stay visible. First, go to the View tab and click Freeze Panes. And you have a few different options, but we just want to freeze the first column. Now when we scroll, we can easily see the names of each salesperson, no matter where we are in the spreadsheet. This spreadsheet also has dates in the second row, and I'd like to freeze them so they'll stay visible when I scroll down. But in this example, though, it's going to work a bit differently, and that's because it's row 2. And you can see why if I go to the Freeze Panes command. There's an option to freeze the top row, but there isn't an option to freeze just the second row by itself. Instead, we'll need to freeze the top 2 rows. Since we've already frozen the first column, we'll first need to reset the spreadsheet by selecting Unfreeze Panes. And now you have 2 options. You can either select the row below the rows that you want to freeze, that's row 3 in this case, or you can select a single cell, such as B3. If you select only one cell, it will freeze the rows above it and also any columns to the left, and that's exactly what we want here. Next, go to the Freeze Panes command and select Freeze Panes. Now you can see a thin line in between rows 2 and 3, and also a line between columns A and B. When I scroll, I can see all of my header rows and columns no matter where I am in the spreadsheet. Sometimes you may need to work with different parts of the spreadsheet at the same time. There are a couple of ways to do this. One is to click the New Window command on the View tab. This will give you 2 separate windows, and you may need to rearrange them so that you can view both at the same time. Both of these windows are showing the same file, and we can use it to view 2 different parts of the worksheet. Or, if the workbook has multiple sheets, you can view 2 of them side by side. So I could view the 2013 sales in one window and the 2014 sales in another, which makes it very easy to compare the 2 years. If you want to go back to just one window, you can close either one by clicking the Close button in the upper right corner. You can then resize the window as needed or just click the Maximize button. Another way to view 2 different parts of a worksheet is to use the Split feature. This is a little bit like freezing panes, except instead of freezing them, you can actually scroll each section independently. First, if you have any frozen panes, you'll need to go back to the Freeze Panes command, then choose Unfreeze Panes. Then select the cell where you want the split to appear, usually somewhere near the middle of your spreadsheet, and then click the Split command. And now you can see that there are vertical and horizontal dividers. There are also 4 scroll bars, which we can use to scroll the different sections. Now, if you find that this view is a little bit too cluttered, you can make it simpler by removing one of the dividers. If you drag the vertical divider all the way to the left, it will disappear, and you just have a horizontal divider. Now, by scrolling the top and bottom sections, we can compare the data for any 2 salespeople really easily. For example, how about David Carlson and Melissa Post? Depending on your spreadsheet, some of these view options may be better than others. In this example, the header rows and columns are really important, so the freeze panes feature is probably our best choice. You'll want to try all of the view options and see which one works best for your spreadsheet.
Okay. Excuse me. You might find the freeze pane works really well. I do the freeze pane more than I do a split screen, but I don't always have really large database files that would require that. But in case you do, and oftentimes when people are using Excel, they get large spreadsheets that have a lot of information on it, and scrolling back and forth, up and down, can be very time consuming and frustrating at times. So having the split screen or the freezing pane is a useful tool with your Excel. So what I want to do is go back to our freeze pane file. I'm going to share my screen and we'll talk about some of the features and how to use the various different features that you will find using an Excel table. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go to freeze pane. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
So one of the first things I want you to notice is that, as they pointed out, when you scroll up, you notice you lose your header row.
Dang. Yeah.
So that would be really confusing. And again, if you scroll left or right, the same thing. So the main thing I like to do is always click in a sheet like this. I want to click under the row and the column that I want to stay visible. So in this case, you mentioned it's B3. When you freeze panes, the location of the cell, whatever the location of the cell is always going to freeze above and to the left of that location. So that means everything above B3, which is rows 1 and 2, is going to be frozen, and everything to the left of that, which happens to be column A, is going to be frozen. So if I go to my View tab, and go to there's a section called Window, that's your Windows group, and you click on Freeze Pane, the very first option will work because it says it keeps rows and columns visible while the rest of the worksheet scrolls based on the current selection. So when I click here, I can scroll down and I can scroll right and not miss what I'm, my column and row headings. Now, I'm going to unfreeze for a second. If you forget where maybe you're looking at Kathy Albertson saying, okay, I want to freeze pane, and not pay attention to where your particular location of your cell, and you click on freeze pane, you'll get something like this. So you see, I was in cell I-10, and so the first 9 rows are frozen, and the first 8 columns are as well. And so you might think, oh, that's not what I want. If something like that happens, simply go and unfreeze the pane. Okay. So that's quite useful, freezing panes. But let's talk about some of the other things you can do. When you are in an Excel table, most times you want to use the data functions. So if you go to your ribbon, you should notice a section or a tab called Data. Click on that tab, and you'll get your ribbon that has, it says get and transform data, queries and connections, data type, sort and filter, data tools, forecast, and outline. Now, some of these things are new. Forecast is a new feature with 2019. They moved data tools here, and the rest of it's, no, this part here, data types is new, but we're going to just focus on this part here, sort and filter. I find sort and filter probably the most useful that I like with large tables. Sort and filter, if you sort, notice at the top, you'll see an A to Z and a down arrow and a Z to A. So that means, am I going to sort my column by alphabetically A to Z, or if it's numbers, lowest to highest, etc. And then there's this other button called a multiple sort. Demonstrate. So if you look at the salesperson, you can see it's already sorted alphabetically. You can see that just by looking at it. But let's say I want to sort in January 2014, I want to see the highest to the lowest in I guess their sales data. All you have to do is click anywhere in this particular column. And I'm going to, I said highest to lowest. So that means I want the Z to A. It shows sort largest to smallest, and I click on it. And now I can see that the highest sales in 2014 January were 18,930 by Allison Carroll. And nothing else sort is no longer alphabetical order, it is in numerical order. So when you click on a column, you can either sort A to Z or Z to A.
Okay.
If I wanted to do a multiple sort means I want to sort more than one column, and I don't want to lose the sort of the first column. So let's say I want to, well, this is probably not the best table to do that with. Actually, this is not a good table to do that. So I'll tell you what, let's go to the other sheet that I have. The other sheet, which is the sample, the data sample.
Yeah.
Much than that. That one's more like what you would probably see in a large database. So I'm going to stop my share. And I'm going to go to the database sample. It looks like this. You see, this is a very large sheet. In fact, it's so large, it's over 700 columns. I mean,
Hurts your eyes.
700 rows. Yeah, that's very large. And you don't want to be scrolling up and down. So one of the first things I want to point out is that you can quickly select an entire table without scrolling. It's a shortcut. So you would click on the very first cell, which in this case is A1. Hold down your Control key and your Shift key and press the number 8. Control Shift 8. Try that again. Control Shift 8. There we go. Now, if I scroll down, of course, it's a very long sheet. That the only thing that's shaded is the data in that table. Without me having to scroll down to row 701, I on the first cell, press your Control Shift and then press the 8 key, and the whole sheet is selected. To get to your A1, course, you would press Control. And if you have a laptop, it might be Control Control Function Home. Because I just deselected everything by doing that. But I'll select it again, Control Shift 8. Okay. Now, if you guys are trying to do this on a computer, a separate computer or tablet, or on your existing screen, what you can do is the sheet that you have open, if you grab it at the very top of the title bar, green bar, and oops, and move it to the left, what my screen did. Were you guys able to see what I did? Notice that I have my sheet now on the left side of my screen, and on the right side of my screen has a bunch of other windows because these are other things that I have open. Okay. If you find your Zoom, of course, I can't find my Zoom because my Zoom is open, but you can, take my voice and let's say I wanted to split screen with this here. I have a split screen.
Right.
You can do the same thing. You can split your screen so that you have your active worksheet in front of you, and you can still have.
Well, can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
Can you hear me? Yeah,
Yes,
I
can.
have it. I have the homework spreadsheet, and
Mhm.
then yours said it's the split, but mine covers yours. Could you show me
If
how
you-
to
Yeah,
split it?
you have to, let me see if I can close this. You have to, let's see which one am I on. Okay, I'm trying to close all these different windows here. Let me stop my share for a second. When you want to split screen, you take the title bar of one window and snap it to the left side of your screen. You take the title bar of the other window and snap it to the right. And it will automatically split the screen. Another way of doing it would be to go to your taskbar at the very bottom of your window, the one that has all your little icons on the bottom. If you right click on a bottom part that's not inhabited by an icon, you should see a list. And at least on a Windows 10, I don't know about a Mac, but you should see something that says show windows side by side, or show windows stacked, or cascade windows. That will take the open windows and it'll arrange it either cascading them like a deck of cards, or stacked or side by side.
Could you repeat where you would see that again, Gina? I have Windows 10, but I'm not following. I don't see that icon.
Okay. At the very bottom of your screen, your window, you should see your little Windows 10 window, the type here to search, whatever icons you have on your taskbar, like Excel or Windows.
Okay.
Okay, right click on a blank part of that, and you should get a shortcut menu.
Okay.
Called a context menu.
Okay.
And it should be divided in sections. At the bottom, it might say, what?
No.
Let's see. Let me see if I can, I don't know if I can share that. Let me see if I can share that. Okay. Can you see the list on my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So you see that there's a section that says cascade windows, show windows stacked, show windows side by side. Do you see?
Okay.
Okay. Click show windows side by side. it's showing all my open windows right now, which right now is a mess, but now I can manipulate which windows I want open and which ones I don't.
Okay, okay.
So if I just want this window open, come on, I just closed it. Oh, dang it. It's really hard to do this showing on Zoom, but are you getting the idea?
Yeah.
So-
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
got to play with it.
Yeah.
right.
So sometimes when people
Practice.
are working a lot on, most times when we're working in Windows, we have more than one window open. And a lot of times they're just minimized to our taskbar and they're out of the space. So if you want to bring some of these things up, if you're doing copying from one document to a PowerPoint or whatever, people will use that feature so that they don't have to, open and close, open and close, open and close. They could just have everything on display. It's like just taking various different pieces of paper and arranging it on your desktop and doing it that way. So I'm going to try again to go to the database sample. Why is this showing up? Okay. I don't need this open. I am trying to get back to my PowerPoint. Okay, can everybody now see my database sample on my screen?
Yes,
Okay. So as I said, I selected all 700 rows by clicking on cell A1, holding down the Control and Shift key, and then press the number 8, and it selected all 700 rows. Now, I want to make this an Excel table, because right now we're looking at just a plain range of data. I want to make it an Excel table, which gives me the database features very handy. So I'm going to go to the Insert command on my ribbon. And you might notice there is a section called Tables. Pivot, Recommended, Pivot Table, and Table. I want you to click on Table. When you click on Table, it's going to say you want to create a table. Okay, where's the data? This is where I see your data range. Yours should say the same thing. $A, $1, colon, $P, $701. So that's saying that this table is from A1 to P701. We've already got it selected. That's why Excel says this is what I see. And it has a check mark by my table has headers. And this is very important. You want Excel to recognize that your top row is a header row and not data. You don't want it to treat the header row as data. You want it to treat the header row as a label. Okay. So now go ahead and click OK. And you should see that your table now is formatted. You see banded rows, and you should see the header row has these little triangles. You can click anywhere now to deselect it. These are called filters, called auto filters. Okay. We are now in an Excel table. And to show you just immediately how you can tell besides the filters, if you scroll down, you notice that you still have headers. It says country, product. You don't have to freeze panes. You don't have to tell it, I don't want, I want to always see my headers. Okay. Everybody see that? Here, the header row is blue and it has little filters on it. If I scroll down, I see the same headers, it's just not blue. Getting that? not hearing anything, and I can't see your faces, so some kind of feedback.
The table you had before, it was just a group of data. And then when you went to the table section, you then put it in where you could see the filters, whatever you call that, and
Yes,
and you can play with it. This was quite different from having to go and freeze and all of that, right? Is that right?
yes.
Okay, I kind of got it. Okay,
Okay, but there are other neat things we can do with this.
okay.
You might notice that you should see table styles, and there's different color styles. If you click on the little drop down by that, you'll see that you have all kinds of different color styles that you can use if you want things to be colorful. That's just for, aesthetics. But the other thing is, if you go to the table style options section of your ribbon, you should see there's a check mark by header row. If you deselect that, your header row disappears, which of course you don't want, but that's just showing you what that does. The banded rows, if you deselect that, everything will be, just plain. It's showing you where the formatting is coming from. If you wanted the first column to be differently formatted, click first column, and you see in this case, it made the column heading bold. And if you wanted columns banded instead of rows, so these are just different options about what. Notice it says filter button. If you wanted the filter button removed, you can deselect it. Okay. On the far left of your ribbon, you can give this table a name. Right now, mine says table 2, and you can resize the table if you wanted to. With 700 rows, I'm not about to do that. And one important thing here in the tools section, you notice it says convert to range. Now you're thinking, well, what do you mean convert to range? This is going to convert this back to a normal range. When we inserted the Excel table, we changed the structure of the table somewhat. But if we wanted to go back to its original range, you just click convert range. It's going to say, do you want to convert it back to a normal range? Yes. It's not going to look much different. But now if I scroll up, notice that I don't see the header row anymore. That's the main thing you'll notice. The formatting, the banded rows and columns aren't going to change, but it's no longer an Excel table. It's just a regular table. I'm going to, once again, put mine back into an Excel table. So let's try some things. So I want you to, let's see. So let's sort, let's try sorting. Now the difference between sort and filter, when you have a large table like this, it's so much to read sometimes, you want to sort things in a particular order. So notice that this table, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that things are easier to see. Notice that under country, things are not arranged in any particular order, are they? So I want to sort this alphabetically. So if you notice that little triangle, that little white triangle, that is a sort and filter button. If you click on the drop-down arrow, notice it says sort A to Z or Z to A, and it's got some other things here. You can sort by color. You can do text filters. This shows you all the countries that are listed in this column. We can't tell but just by looking at it because we don't know how far down it goes, right? So when I click here, let's say I only want to see the countries of the United States and Germany. I'm going to click the button that says select all. And I'm going to select United States and Germany. Now, this is called filtering. I am now filtering out what I don't want to see. So I'm going to click OK. Now all I see are those two countries. Now, at the bottom of the screen, you should see at the very, very bottom, you should see it says 280 of 700 records found. So it's telling me that I'm looking at 280 records. I'm not looking at 700. I'm looking at the 280 that meet the criteria I just mentioned, United States and Germany. And if I want to sort this so that all of the United States are together, all of Germany is together, now I'm going to go and tell it to sort Z to A. Here's all the United States and all the Germany, and all the other records we don't see. They're still there. We're just filtering them out.
I could make more sheets of that, couldn't I?
Yes, you could. You could actually, and when you're sorting and filtering, you are not removing anything. You are just changing the view. So if I wanted to,
Okay.
I could copy this sheet and rename it Germany, US Germany. And this is what I'm going to see. But in order to make sure that I always go back to the original, the one that I renamed Germany, US, in sheet 1, I would just remove these filters and sorts. So if I click on the little icon there, it says clear filter from country. And now we're back to where we were before. So, you know, when you get a lot of data, filtering and sorting becomes really important. I used to get, when I was working, a sheet that my division chief would send me that has all the instructors that are teaching and what classes they're teaching. You think I wanted to scroll through and try to find my name or try to find what class I was teaching? I would sort and filter. I would just filter just my name, and I would see only my name and only the classes that I'm teaching. Out of 300 some people, I didn't have to be scrolling through. Let's say you have a list of fundraising donors, and you have a really large list, and you just want to filter out the ones that are in Tacoma or the ones that are in Washington or whatever. You have a really large list. You can, that way it makes it so much easier for you to manipulate this. So, by the way, you might notice that on that little filter, you notice this one shows a downward pointing arrow. That arrow is telling you that this list is sorted in a descending order. If the arrow is pointed up, it would mean that this list is sorted in ascending order. Okay. So let's say we want to do a multiple sort. Let's say
Descending from what?
descending means it is a to Z is an ascending order. Z to A is a descending order. Largest to smallest, Z to A.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So if I want to sort this, like I said, if I want to sort it A to Z, it's sorted A to Z. Now, if I want to do more than one sort, let's see, I'm going to clear. I've got it all clear, so everything right now in the country section is sorted. I meant to go back to segment. Let me sort. Okay, let's do this. Let's say I'm going to sort it A to Z in segment. Now, let's say I want to do what's called a multiple sort. I want to sort first by segment and then by country. Okay. So if we want to look at how many segments do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 segments. Okay. And we have how many countries? 2, 3, 4, half 5.
5 countries.
Yes. So if I wanted to sort first by channel partners and then by country, looks like it's almost already sorted that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Channel partners first,
Okay, let's do it this way. First by
country.
first by country and then by product.
Okay, Gina, I'm
Yes.
trying to do it on my iPad while you're doing it on the computer, but I don't have those arrows.
Okay. If I can't, I don't know for sure on an iPad, but if you'll also find these filters. If you click on your data tab,
Okay.
you'll see a little filter. It says sort and filter, and you'll see a little funnel.
Yeah.
That funnel is highlighted. That means your filters are on. You can also turn it off.
It says sort ascending filters. Show detail. That's not working.
An iPad. Well,
It might be the app here.
yeah. And again, one thing about tablets, they may not have all the features that you will find on a computer.
Okay.
It's a different platform.
It just has a sorting, ascending, and descending.
Yeah, but a filter, the difference between sort and filter, a sort arranges your data in a particular order.
Oh,
A filter screens out what you don't want to see. So if I only want to see the United States, I will filter out everything else. So I will tell it, I only want to see the United States.
okay.
And this shows me down at the bottom of my screen, it says 140 of 700 records found. So it's only showing me the 140 records of the United States. It's not showing me anything else.
Right.
Okay, I have filtered out the other 4 countries. That's a filter. Notice if you can see on my screen that when you filter, you'll see a little funnel.
Yeah.
And when it's sorted, you'll see an arrow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can just look at your filters automatically and tell whether or not you have a database that's sorted and filtered. Because just looking at the sheet, you wouldn't necessarily know because it's so large. But if you're trying to make your data sets much smaller and easier to read, that's why you filter and sort. So now I want to go to my sort and filter button where it says sort. Okay, click on that. Now it says here, sort by.
Segment.
If you click on the drop down, it has all the things in that database. So if I want to sort by country. And it says we're going to sort on the cell values. And we're going to sort A to Z. Let's keep a Z to A because United States is we want that at the top. Okay, so it's going to do that first. Then we want to add a level and say, after you do that, then I want you to sort by product. Okay, so now I'm going to click the add level. Notice it says then by.
Oh.
Select product.
Mhm.
And that can be A to Z. I'm going to click OK. So, where did my product go? Oh. Okay, so you can see that America has Amarillo. These are the products that the United States is involved in. That's still 140. So notice that it's got the first sort by country. And then when the product changes, now it's putting all the product together, alphabetically arranged. It did not change the United States sort, it kept it, and then it arranged alphabetically by product. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can do a lot of this kind of stuff. I found this particular spreadsheet, this database online. I just looked for a free example of a database because I don't have a whole lot of databases that I use. But this is a very large one, so you can see how large a database can be and how useful using the database features. Let's take a 10-minute break, and I'm going to show you a couple other things about using a database. And again, think how you guys could possibly be using this. You know, you can use it for fundraising. You can be using it for property management. You could be using it for a host of different things. Let's take a 10-minute break. Let's come back at 11:10.
For taxes.
Taxes. Okay. All right. Now I think I'm going to need a cup of coffee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And she wanted to know, you know, if we wanted to make a balloon payment or pay a little extra on the principal, how would we make the payment formula work? Well, I actually played around with that and I found out there's a way of doing that. So I want to bring that up and show you what I did.
Good.
Because I actually added it to my own amortization table because I thought, oh, I'm surprised how much it can really save you money. So let me bring that up. Let's see. Okay, can everybody see my table?
Yeah.
Half screen.
I'm gonna put this at the top. Okay, so this is the one I didn't have do it on the house, but this was, remember we did a car payment?
Car.
Okay, and so we have our formulas up here, our beginning balance, our interest. We figured out what the interest and the principal were and what the total payment was and the ending balance. So if we want to add an extra payment to the principal is still going to be the same, but how it affects the ending balance is what really makes a difference, right? So I'm going to show you what I did. I added a column called extra principal payment. And I took every 6 months and thought, okay, every 6 months I'll add $1,000 to that. So the formula changed because before the formula was simply to the total payment. I mean, the ending balance was just the beginning balance minus principal. But now I have in here, we're taking the beginning balance in B13 minus the principal minus any extra payment, which was in column B13. And I copied that down. And that you see that it'll show that we will come to near zero balance on the 73rd payment as opposed to 120. If we took, I started with $1,000 every 6 months, and then I went up to $1,500. And it cut off quite a bit of payment. So you get down to week 73, your ending balance is $456. And of course, the principal is over $600. So you're going to pay, this is what you're going to pay the next month. You're going to pay the $456. There's interest to that. And the principal is negligible at this point. So that shows that you cut your payments down practically, your term practically in half by doing that. I can put any number I want in here. I can, if you look at this sheet, let's look at this sheet, which shows when I first did this on the very first payment, that my ending balance was $43,812. If I look at the previous sheet where I didn't have that, it was $44,812. Okay, because of the $1,000. So I thought, if you're putting an extra payment in there, we just need to add it in there and then make sure that we subtract it from the ending balance. But we don't want it to be every single month because we're not putting that extra payment every single month. Does that make sense?
Yeah, cut down the interest too, good.
Mhm.
So how did you put that extra column in there?
Good question. When you insert a column or row, you select, let's say I want to put in another extra column. I'm going to click on the total payment column. I have to do it at the column area, not at the cell area, at the column. I right click and I hit insert, and it's going to put the blank column in column F, and it's going to move the existing column over to the right. So when I click insert, here's the blank. If I want to delete it, okay. Same thing with a row. If I want to insert a row, I right click and it's going to drop this row down. 14 is going to go down and row 14 will be blank. So if I insert it, row 14 looks blank, it just moved everything down. It moves it down or to the left. So,
Thank
yeah.
you. Mhm.
I thank Cindy for even putting that thought in my head. I never before even thought about, adding extra interest payment, principal payments, and didn't know how to put it into the formula. So the payment formula has not really changed. The PMT has not changed at all because it's still $665 a month, but it definitely has an impact on your ending balance because you still have your regular principal, but now you're paying a little more on it. So that has to come out from your ending balance, and that makes a big difference. And like you said, it does definitely change your interest because it's based on your ending balance or beginning balance.
I have a question. If you
Yes.
scroll down all the way to where there's parentheses around the amounts.
Okay.
So would that be the amount that you're saving?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you went down to how many rows are there? 120 or so?
20.
Okay, so that that 41,000 is the amount that you would be saving.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay. Pretty cool.
Yeah. So,
Why it's so important to pay down as fast as you can. You save a lot of money.
You save a lot of
Awesome.
money, right?
Yeah, yeah, that was good.
so like I said, the PMT, the financial formulas I find really, really helpful in making decisions on, again, there are a lot of advanced features that make these things easier. I'm not teaching an advanced course. I'm just trying to make sure that you understand that this is a powerful program that has a lot of functionality, that you don't have to be necessarily in a business to use it. It's something that you can use. As I said, I use Excel so much, I rarely use a calculator anymore. I'll open up a blank sheet and I'll just put in the numbers I want and say what I want it to do. Just very quick. I'm not saying, you can't still use your calculator. I'm just saying I use it a lot because I'm usually thinking of things in my head and I'm just putting it on a piece of paper just so I can try to figure out how am I going to visualize it. For me, it's very visual. So I don't know why the subtotals didn't work. And like I said, I've seen that happen before, and I don't know what causes it. I'll have to figure that one out. But the subtotal is also very useful. But not
It
every,
kind of showed it.
huh?
It-
Oh, I kind of
It
showed.
kind of showed the subtotal,
Yeah,
that Amarillo had a sub underneath it, 13,000 something.
yeah. There was a view that broke it down into 3 different views. And the
Oh.
view you saw was the more cluttered view, and there's a view that will just give you just the subtotals themselves and not all the
Oh.
detail. And then there was one that gave you a gross, and it's way that Excel would group things. And I
Okay.
don't know why it didn't show, but when I get it to show, you'll see. But you're right, I did get the gist of it.
Right, right.
I noticed on the subtotal, where there was a subtotal, up in the upper left-hand corner, there was a little black triangle. Does that have anything to do with it? What does that show?
Didn't see that.
Hmm. On the subtotal of this, what sheet was that?
Yeah, like if it showed the subtotal of the Amarillo or whatever that was. The
Okay,
subtotal
that-
had a little black triangle in the upper left corner.
So,
And I don't know what that does.
I didn't. Oh, okay, I know what you're
oh,
talking.
that was about like the year, by the
Uh,
year there?
That little, I think I know what you're talking. Let me share my screen. I think I know exactly what you're talking about. So let me go back and share the screen. Do you see it?
Yes,
Okay, you're talking about,
okay, that
this-
little triangle there.
yeah,
that-
when you see that, that's telling you that it's finding something that doesn't follow the normal protocol. And you notice when I clicked on it, I get a little,
A little warning, okay.
yeah, and it'll tell, let me see if I can get it to be bigger so you can see it better. Okay, so if you click on that, it'll tell you, it says formula omits adjacent cells.
Mhm.
So that's because if you notice from 93 to 102, we don't, and from one, yeah, we're missing the first 82 columns. So it's saying, instead of typically adding all adjacent cells, there are adjacent cells missing because we have it filtered.
Mhm.
So it's
Okay,
saying, where are those adjacent cells? And you could tell it to update it to include the cells. Of course, we don't want it to do that because those cells that are omitted for a reason. But you'll see this sometimes, and you just either tell it to update or ignore, or it'll give you some other options. So here are the different options you can use. But that's what that is.
okay.
That had nothing to do with what I'm missing. So you might notice up here that I have, it says 1, 2, 3. And this shouldn't be here like this. One other thing, when you are in an Excel table and when you have a formatted table like this, your formulas will look different. Notice it says subtotal as a number. It doesn't say, H94 through whatever. It doesn't say anything like that. It gives you words like that. And that can be very confusing. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's just that it's weird to look at. You might wonder why it does all that. And I don't want to really get into all the details of that. But when I come back next week, I will have it look the way it's supposed to. And yeah. So if you have no further questions, I will.
Oh, I think I know what that is.
What?
Okay. Now I was trying to guess what was in parentheses under the subtotal 9 and the H82 of the H101.
Well, the nine actually is the function. It's how an Excel table is a code for the function of sum. You could have averaged it. You could have used other functions. It could have been the minimum, maximum, those kind of functions. They just gave it a number.
Mhm. Okay.
Well,
I
like I
must
said,
say, I did a lot of work on the meal, the summer camp thing, and I made copies, but what I didn't do first was I didn't save it. So when I made the copy, it didn't go to the next sheet. And so I kept doing it over and over again, trying to get it. I kind of got it, but I couldn't change the name on the thing on the bottom. But my goal is to figure it out. You don't have to explain it to me. I'm going to keep trying.
well, if you need some help, let me know.
Okay.
I want to make sure that you're getting your money's worth. Okay.
I think I am. So thank you. I'm enjoying this. And this old brain is learning. So that's good. That's my goal is
All right.
on the plasticity.
Yes, thank you, Gina.
Yeah, at
Thank
least
you,
you,
Gina.
It's very interesting. I'm learning a lot. I wish I had known a lot of this before I started that office that I inherited from you.
and I
Yeah.
gotta practice more like Kathy is doing. I gotta practice. I gotta actually practice. I've been running around so wild. I'm just taking it in. I gotta really put it in an application. I gotta do it. So,
Well, at least you have it on YouTube. You can always go
Right.
back and
Yeah,
look at it.
I love that YouTube and that Goodwill one, their little
Yeah.
short segments.
Yes, and go into that chapter 17 and 18. It's on the using data and the freezing thing.
17 and
I
18.
can't.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't stress enough that is really very useful. I love the
Okay.
way it is structured so that it's simple
Mhm.
and they give you everything
Okay.
you need, and it's in YouTube and it's free. I mean, my
Yeah.
goodness, you might say it could put me out of business.
which one is that, Gina, that you say best, the better one?
What?
Which one are you referring to?
The Goodwill.
The Goodwill
That's-
one, okay,
yeah,
okay.
That's the global
Right.
community
got it.
foundation, learnfree.org. So
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of things that you can do. There are a lot of things on YouTube on Excel, but a lot of them go very quickly through it and they don't give you a lot of explanation. They just point and click. And I like the way that they keep their videos nice and short and sweet. And then they have a lot of very well-written examples of how to do things.
You're right.
Okay,
The
thank
challenge
you.
is finding the time for really, reviewing it and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That's true. Think of it as homework.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Think of it as a piano lesson. Let's practice, practice,
Ah,
Yesterday, that's
Yeah.
all I did.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank Gina, and good to see
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.
Yes.
So
All
great
right.
seeing all of you.
Ladies.
Have a good
Good evening,
day.
everybody.
Thank
too.
you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. See you next
Good
week.
day. I'm going to end it all for everybody at once.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.